Hello, everyone. I'm Morgan, your anchor of excellence, bringing you more excellence, more pageantry, and of course, more fabulousness. Thank you for joining us. A special thank you to tonight's sponsor, 100 Coconuts, for supporting the LGBTQIA plus community while keeping it 100% natural. Now let's get to the question on everyone's lips. How can you watch the live pageant from Pageant Queens? Well, baby, tonight you get that answer straight from the source. Joining us is the award-winning filmmaker Travis Stencil and Miss Gay America Femme co-owner Michael Dutzer. Together, they'll take us behind the scenes of independent filmmaking, sharing what it takes to bring powerful stories to life from the first idea to the final edit. And they'll reveal what's next for Pageant Queens Live. Please join me in welcoming Travis Stencil and Michael Dutzer. Hello, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Good. I'm Morgan.
Yes. There's so much going on in the background, Travis. What is going on in the background?
You know what's funny? When you learn that you get paid per view or per stream, that you just leave it playing on mute on all your TVs at all different times. So I'm playing Pageant Queens behind me.
I love that. Entrepreneur already at heart. I love that. And then, Michael, I know you have some fabulous art behind you as well, which I got to talk to you about before.
I do.
I love your art, and I love all that you do with the system as well for Miss Gay America and all the other things that you have coming along. So, Travis, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone at home and what you got going on?
Well, my name's Travis. I'm the executive producer and director of Pageant Queens, and we are here celebrating the finale of what has been a 3-year journey for a lot of us. This all started back in 2023. We had the live pageant of Queen of Drag back in September of 2024, and now here we are in July of 2026. It was picked up, filmed, produced, and turned into this phenomenal docuseries that you've all watched and we've all loved. And now we finally get to find out who is the Queen of Drag. So I'm finally excited to.
Travis, do you know who the winner is?
I have a good feeling. I haven't, you can
just tell me and Michael, that's fine.
It's going to be very, very, very special. I'm really excited for you guys to watch.
It's exciting.
It's hard to not know when you had to sit through the editing process.
So what do you have going on in your life besides the docuseries and everything else that's going on?
Yeah, well, when we started this, it kind of created this, mission, creating spaces to highlight LGBT stories. And so Mike and I, have been creating more concepts, more shows, more miniseries, more documentaries that just really take up this space in streaming. So we've been doing that, getting ready for all those great things that we'll talk about later on in this interview. And I'm planning a wedding, oddly enough. Never thought that would happen. I proposed to my girlfriend of 5.5 years, which feels like a lifetime. I think that's in forever in gay world. But
should you get to check out Travis's Facebook page, which I had the opportunity to Facebook stalk. 1, photos are amazing. Number 2, fiance beautiful, and I could tell she already has a good soul just looking at the photos.
Oh yeah, she's. I always tell the story. She makes me look like a Make-A-Wish patient. We were on a date. Valentine's Day a couple of years ago, and somebody was like, "You must be a Make-A-Wish patient because there's no way she's with you." And I'm like, "Wow!" And we've just got that joke. But yeah, planning the wedding. Being a producer here in Florida, busy season starts like October. So yeah, November 7th is the day where.
Congratulations and congrats. So Michael, Travis is saying that there's endeavors coming up in the future that you're a part of as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
There are. So as you know, we're getting ready to release Dream Queens here. We're a little behind schedule, production. The whole system's crazy. So we are looking for, we're a couple weeks out yet, but we are making progress on that. And I am joining Travis on season 2 of Pageant Queens as the director, which I'm excited about because I just love telling stories, and even in reality TV, there is a storyline or a concept to the show. So I'm looking forward to that. And we also filmed in Atlantic City with Miss International Queen this year, and we are doing a documentary called In Plain Sight, which focuses on trans women living in a world today with our environment, with the political environment that we live in, and how they put themselves out in the pageant world in front of the world to be judged, and how it impacts them, how it's impacted their lives, what their life has been like. So we're really making a move to highlight the LGBTQ community, and in a positive light, not in a light of attacking people for their political choices or anything, but if you have never met a person, or if you think you've not met a person, this is an opportunity to meet somebody and hear their story and make an emotional connection to them. And so there's a lot of really cool things coming up. The two of us, we brainstorm quite a bit when we talk, and we've been working together for years, and yeah, we've developed a great friendship and working relationship.
Well, I first have to say that what's amazing to hear from the both of you, that you're definitely hitting the mark about uplifting our community in all the different facets, all the different avenues that we have in the community. And I think it's important because everyone has a voice, and all the voices are deserving of being heard. So hats off to the both of you. And you can never go wrong by authentically being yourself, putting your heart on your sleeve, and just trying to do good for our community, right?
I agree.
Yeah, what I love about what Mike does is he creates these spaces to share these stories. And being a part of Atlantic City and what we filmed with BTTC and MIQ USA, which, by the way, if you have not watched Pageant, they're doing their 2027 in April. Morgan, you have to go. What they do is mind blowing. It is a level that drag has not seen. The closest thing I would relate it to is what Mike does with MGA. I mean, MGA and MIQ are in a league of their own. It's just, it's that next step of pageantry.
Sure.
I mean, even Mike was there when we were filming, and both of us, we were just filming the documentary, but we would go to these events, and just everything they were doing with those girls was just incredible. And then you hear the stories, and then it reminds you of your why. Yeah. And it's these stories of what helps us all move forward, and it's creating these spaces. And that's what I loved about watching Pageant Queens, is you're hearing coming out stories, you're hearing, coming out as trans, you're hearing how drag saved them, you're hearing about the black market silicone. I mean, you're hearing things that you don't get to hear on TV or see on TV. And for someone like Alexis or Aja, who started their careers in basements of nightclubs, to now being able to see themselves on TV, it's a huge win for the community, for drag country as a whole. And I'm really excited to just keep pushing forward. And, I mean, we had to make our mark. I mean, this was not picked up. This was not, this was something we had to say, we're here, and you're not getting rid of us. And
it can be very nerve-wracking too, because you don't know how anyone's going to respond to it. So, you just got to trust in what you're doing.
One thing people don't realize is when we filmed this, we were in, one administration, and the phone would not stop ringing. Everybody wanted the show, and we couldn't edit it fast enough. So by the time it was ready to be distributed, and we're in another administration, I mean, the phones were being ignored. Nobody was picking up. And, once we finally got signed and got picked up, then it was just delay and delay and delay. And everyone saw what happened. I mean, what they did, or what took place on April 20th. This was I don't like using the word of attack, but it was a form of trying to silence what we are doing, what we've been working.
Yeah, especially with as much as the networks have been controlled by what's going on in our government. If you watch the news or pay attention to entertainment, a lot of these channels have been taken over, or they've been, merged together, and they're being told what to do. You see talk show hosts being fired and stuff like that. So when you have that kind of environment, it affects us huge, because we rely on sponsorship and people coming together to help fund, independent artists.
Yeah.
And a lot of that disappeared on us. People who have given money to us in the past are afraid to, because of what consequences it'll have on their business politically or anything. So it was a major impact on all of us.
Sure. So I want to go back to the beginning with the two of you. So with our community, obviously we had talked about, there's so many walks of life, there's so many people with voices, all the people have voices, and you both have driven yourselves to put yourself in a position of helping and standing up on that platform and raising your voice to help lift up others. So Michael, I want to start with you. Why did you choose to go into the Miss Gay America pageant system, but then now transferring over to documentaries and docuseries?
So the pageant, I kind of fell in love with. Rob and I started with US of A as promoters, regional promoters, and we kind of grew into that. And then with Miss Gay America, we saw an opportunity to elevate it. When L&T had it, they were going through some personal issues that I think affected how things ran, or the direction that the pageant went for a while. And we saw an opportunity to kind of come in and do what we did. We knew when we bought it, it was going to have a limited time for us because we have children. And we knew there would be a time where their education was going to be our focus because, we wanted to give them something we didn't have. But I never expected it to have the impact on me that it did. I went into it thinking I was taking some part of history and trying to cement it somewhere on my level, if that makes sense, on a production level, because I liked producing shows and I thought, let me take this amazing pageant and like put it on a stage and give it a Broadway performance, a Broadway feel, and like really elevate it and cement it in history. And I feel I accomplished that, but I think in the end, my connection to the people and to the system grew stronger each year. Like when you go into something that big, and people, everybody busts on our rule book and, the Bible, the 300-page book that we inherited.
I know every page.
But the thing is, you start defending it because you see how those rules could, like a deviation from those rules can impact something. So when you change something, you're very cautious not to upset the balance or the history of what you have. So, and there has to be something really positive there about the rules and the structure of the pageant because we do so well. I mean, if you look at, we appoint nobody. Everybody earns their spot through competition, and we go there with about 50 people a year on that stage. And now with Femme even more. I mean, that is an accomplishment in this day and age with what's going on with a lot of pageants right now, that we are able to continue that success even through the different ownerships because that structure is there as a safeguard for the system. It's kind of weird because it kind of manages and governs itself. The system is what is important. It's not important that I was an owner. It's not important that Monica's an owner. It's not important that anybody else who owned it or competed in it. The title holders basically take over. They're the face of that system, and that system itself is an institution. We're just there to safeguard it.
Sure.
And that's what's amazing about it is because it's so much bigger than any of us, but we all contribute to its success and to its growth in the future. And so that made it very rewarding for us. Now, as to why I made a switch into this move, I get bored very easily. And I got this bug up my ass to do film school late in life. And during COVID, that's what I started doing. I did NYU online film school.
Okay.
And then I just started getting more into the production, into the writing, and working on some very low budget movies. And I started learning stuff, and I was fascinated. I was like, I can tell a story with a camera, and I was great at photography. I had a great vision for light and like creating a story with vision. And I saw an opportunity. And when Travis approached me, we discussed several ideas on stage, and then we started both kind of toying around with the whole film industry around the same time. And I think it just kind of clicked. And we ran with it. You take a chance.
Sure.
And I did. And I'm glad I did because I think it can have just as huge an impact as what we did the last 10 years.
And I'm sure it will, especially with your drive.
I don't know if you remember, Mike, but the one thing that I love about Dream Queens, and I'm so excited for people to watch it because he's directed a series that tells the legacy and the history of what this is, all in a 9-10 episode, brilliantly laid out series. I just remember watching the first episode with him a year ago when we got the first episode, and I'm sitting there watching like this, and him and I spoke about doing something similar. The idea Dream Queens, the America Dream, is something him and I talked about back when I was Entertainer of the Year in 2018, and Deva was reigning as Miss Gay America. And it was like right when Endora won. And I told him, I was like, we've got to do something, whether if it's like a musical or
it was going to be like a Broadway show at first.
Yeah.
I'd go see it. I would go see it.
I tell the story. And then so when I did Pageant Queens, I remember it was about a month before we hit the stage. And I told him, I was like, look, like I just came up with Queen of Drag. I brought in, you know, north of $500,000 in sponsorship in a 9-month period of time, which is like unheard of. That's crazy about the economy or the world we live in today, because just back then, like to bring in $500,000 for an LGBT drag pageant TV show, I mean, to no one will even answer your call now, says a lot. And so I told him, I was like, this is the time is now. I'm like, if you're gonna do something with Gay America, you know, to help bring in more sponsorship, to make it more known, to build a bigger following, now is the time to tell the story and history. And we literally signed on in September. I literally went from filming the last episode of Queen of Drag, and he started planning with my film team to bring them out in January when Gay America was. And we didn't even start editing ours until that was done. And then we went back and then edited all mine and then edited all his. And it was, and just watching both of them be built simultaneously at the same time, to where now, you know, mine's out and thriving. His is about to make its big debut. And, you know, we're just two guys that were just like, the time now, let's just do it. And yeah, it's special. It's special.
Norman had his book. I have my TV series. I had to put him on that one. This is how I tell, well, not my story, but I tell the story that, well, it's not even my story, it's everybody's story, but I think it's going to be something that I think people are going to be really amazed with it.
Yeah,
it's much better than I envisioned in my head, which is always good. But I think if anybody's preparing to compete for Miss Gay America, I think it's a great spot to see how people over the decades have prepared, and how the pageant has changed, and how it's also stayed the same. So I think it's a good building block for people who want to compete, people who are competing, anybody who really enjoys the pageant, because it's a solid story for all 9 episodes. It's a lot of tearful moments, a lot of funny moments, but it's a lot of great stories in history.
Exciting. Okay, Travis, so now you're on the spotlight right now. So being an ally for the LGBTQIA plus community, coming into the docuseries of Pageant Queens, and creating such a space for drag queer community pageantry, what was your drive for that? What was your inspiration to be able to create a piece like this?
You know, where I got into it in the beginning, you know, again, you know, I'm a former Continental, former Entertainer of the Year, and, you know, I had infamous reigns, if you would say, not for good reasons, but for my way of thinking outside of the box, you know, and in respect to Ed and George and Jim, you know, they're people that have built phenomenal systems, but they have their way of doing it. And what I've learned in business is it's constantly evolving. And if you don't evolve with business, you get left behind, and you're then stagnant. And being stagnant is the worst thing that ever could happen to any business across any genre of business. And so my love for it came from, I was a little kid, and we had a neighbor. Her name was Shana Nicole. And oddly enough, where the full circle moment is, the one crown she always wanted to win was North Carolina Gay America. She won everything else, but never won North Carolina Gay America. And I learned so many life lessons from Shana, because Curtis, as the man he is, he's, you know, 5'4", he has a speech impediment, he's legally deaf. He attracted AIDS during the AIDS epidemic, and you know, the world really forgot about him. And he taught me, you know, life is not about the cards you're dealt; it's about what you do with them. And I remember being a kid going to his house in like a Section 8 neighborhood, and you know, everyone else's, it looked like just run down, forgotten, but his was a beautiful white house with a picket fence, and you would just walk in, and it looked like you were in the castle of London, and it taught me something. And what I learned with him with Shana is, when he made Shana, it was his second chance to give someone what the world never gave Curtis. And he was able to make Shana loud and bold and brave, and would never take no for an answer, and just a raging bitch. And growing up in a small knitted town where, you know, a male pursuing performing arts was not heard of, I was often bullied, looked down upon. You know, the school systems forgot about me. I did not thrive in the education system. And but he taught me how to stand up for myself and never to take no for an answer. And so when I took the never take no for an answer and went into the workforce of the world, I noticed, as I started my career in dance, wait a minute, I've seen that before, and I've seen that before, And what I was noticing is all these pop artists and all these great choreographers and all these great makeup artists get their inspiration from drag, which is this world that's been left in the shadows and highlighted by artists like Lady Gaga, Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry, J-Lo, all get their inspiration from drag. And even as an adult, like, you know, my fiance competed in Miss USA, and we're talking to a gown designer that's making her gown, and he's sending me drag queens as inspiration. And I'm like, I know this person. What do you mean? Like, this is where you get your inspiration from? So the girls that compete at Miss USA and Miss Universe get their inspiration from here. And
wow,
it makes such an impact on the world. And as someone who, I owe a lot of my success because at a young age, I knew the art of drag. And so people would hire me because they loved the vision, they loved the ideas, they loved the makeup tips, the wardrobe, the costuming, the mix, how to go from this song to this song, how to tell a story. And that's what I learned through drag. And so when both of my infamous reigns did not go as planned of trying to, you know, elevate, you know, Continental and Entertainer of the Year, getting more corporate funding, making it more life-changing, I was, through my both reigns, I was like, we've got to make this life-changing again. You know, pageantry, aside from, I would say, the America system, all of it has lost that life-changing spark where I've won this and now my life has changed. And now I'm, you know, now you do it for the love. Now you do it to join the sisterhood. You do it for the crown. But people are investing more money than what they ever make. And I'm like, how do we flip that? How do we make it where you win this and it's enhancing your life? And that's where I came up with Queen of Drag. I wanted to create that next level that's beyond a national title, making like a pro league, like the Olympics of drag, where it's all winners. You had to win a national title to compete. If you enter, we're going to pay you. Every one of those queens got paid for filming. They got paid to compete. We paid for their choreographers. We paid up to 8 dancers. We paid for their talents. And the top 4, every top 4 member got $5,000 and the winner got $50,000. Wow. We gave out $70,000 on the spot. This is not through the duration of your reign. It was right there and then. $70,000. One person went home with $50,000. And when you $50,000 hits your bank account, you wake up the next day and there's 50 grand there.
Life changer. Yeah, life changer. Yeah.
And that was the point of this. And through the process of making that show, you know, we made this commercial for it, which was the first time anyone ever made a commercial for a pageant, a live event. And networks were calling. They thought it was a TV show. And they were like, we don't know about this. Who's doing this? And that's where we're like, we need to make this a TV show.
Yeah.
And Michael Silas and I, who's, you know, still my right-hand man, he's a creative genius. I love telling the story of Mike. He was the artistic director of the moment pop history changed forever, which was Lady Gaga's 2009 VMA Paparazzi performance. People don't know that about Mike. And I always tell people, go hire him to do your talents. I mean, he changed pop history. He changed pop culture as we know today from that one performance. And he was my right-hand man through this. And also why I feel like, and I'm excited you guys are all about to see it, when you see this finale episode, this pageant, and Mike was there, I'm speechless when I talk about it because you've never seen anything like it because they all were so good. You know, you go to a pageant and you got your like handful of people that get that standing ovation, but we didn't even need seats. They should have done this in like an open field and just made it standing room only because no one sat down. I mean, it was mind blowing. And now you're finally getting here 2 years later to rewatch it because of the finale episode. You know, with a 4-hour pageant, we have to condense to an hour and music rights. And also the final episode shows you more of the behind the scenes of the pageant and all the intensity of getting ready and the conversations that took place backstage, the lip sync battles. And that's why this viewing party, we're really showcasing, you get to watch the entire pageant, then the finale episode, because when the network that has now officially bought in Pageant Queens, where everything will move and go live there, be its forever home, it will only show the finale episode. It will not show the pageant to its entirety. So, you know, everyone tune in because this is the only way you're going to see it. You know, if you're there.
Well, so I have to say, sorry, go ahead, Travis.
It was just a great journey. You know, it was 3 years in the making. You know, I gave up my title in 2022 and went to work. It was a prep year of work. So, you know, we're looking at 3-4 years in the making, but when you're building something to this magnitude, it takes time. And now I'm excited now that we have the concept and we have a director with Michael's talent to see what we're doing now and the queens we're going to highlight now and the twists and the turns that we're adding to season 2.
Do you already have it casted?
We have ideas.
We got a lot of ideas.
So I have to say that, as we all know, promoters, directors, people that are all part of the system that are behind the scenes work tirelessly to showcase the people that are on the front lines of it. When I say front lines, I mean the crowned queen or the person on TV that you're seeing. Everyone doesn't see the behind the scenes. Everyone does not see the struggles or the triumphs or the tribulations that are going on behind the scenes. So hats off to the both of you and everyone else involved in all the systems and all the documentary series that have been already achieved and moving forward. With that being said, how did you meet? And then how did you develop your relationship together to where you're at today?
I don't know if I necessarily remember. I know we met in the pageant world, but if I had to I think it was when you just first bought. Well, there's two times. I was backup dancing in North Carolina, Gay America. It was their very first year with Asia O'Hara reigning. And if you know anything about her reign, she made Mike and Rob travel with her and then also wear suits. And so if you also know Mike and Rob, they'll wear suits once a year, and it's for the finale of Gay America. And any other time, they're never in a suit. Like getting Mike in a button-up today, and on camera, I'm like, wow.
Handsome,
wow.
and he looks very handsome.
Very dapper, money is what he looks like.
Only from the waist up.
The first time as a kid, and they're in suits with Asia O'Hara, so I was starstruck. I'm like, these people are just money. And then
Asia was so insistent. We showed up to a prelim in t-shirts and jeans, and Asia goes, "You own the Miss Gay America pageant. Dress for it." And I'm like, she goes, "Buy a blazer." Buy a button-down shirt. I'm like, okay. So Rob and I literally went shopping and spent a couple $1,000s, and then we're like, she goes, we walked in, she goes, "Better." I'm like, that's it?
I ended my Sunday best right now.
Well, the second Asia stepped down, the t-shirt came back on.
Yeah.
I love Asia though.
I think the next time
I have a closet full of suits I don't wear.
Yep. I think the next time, like where we really hit it off, was Continental. I forget, it was the year Stasha won, and so I don't know who would have been reigning. I think she was 19. So whoever was your queen in 2019, I think it was right before Deva gave up, is what it was. So Andorra. Anyway, they were at Continental, and they had an open seat right beside them, and I just sat there and I just talked the shit with them the entire time. And me and Rob hit it off immediately, and then they invited me to come hang out with them in Baltimore and talk like business ideas and show ideas. And we just hit it off. And Rob and I have been, oh my God. I work with Mike, Rob's too busy for me. So me and Mike are, I would say, closer now because we talk on a daily. But when he brings Rob around, it's like me and Rob are like frat bros. Like me and Rob will go to the bathroom together and share a urinal. Like we're
Rob,
not really. But
Is this in Florida?
Well,
I love anytime Rob's there. I'm like, like they were painting one of their houses.
How did I miss that?
Robert want to go paint this house.
More.
You're like, what's up with my prostate? I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh, and it was so funny. There was
Rob gets into the fun parts though. When we were filming the commercial with Desi, we filmed it on a soundstage at 3 or 4 story tall soundstage, and there's these big catwalks above the soundstage, and we're down there filming, and Desi's down there with her birds and the feathers and dancers in their underwear, and Rob and I are crawling up on these like narrow things that you can see down 4 stories of height. And by the way, I'm not great at heights unless I have like a bungee cord on me or something. And they're like, throw feathers. So we're throwing feathers from the top, and they're like, throw more. And we're like, that's all you gave us. So we're like taking
and here's Travis dancing around the stage, just ready to catch you because he's the
I'm like literally like I'm with my coach here and I'm bossing everyone around with Alberto. I'm like, do this. We were watching the first episode of Dream Queens. I went over to their house, which, mind you, if you've never been over to their house, it's a sight to be seen. They blew the budget out of the water. It's rightfully so. It's awesome. And so I'm like touring their house, and like Rob texts me because he's like watching me on my camera, and he goes, "You really came over to my house when I'm not there?" And I'm like, "Oh."
Sorry, bro.
Right?
I'm putting your metaphor real quick.
Well, I love that. It just seems like you authentically just gelled together. The relationship is built. And what's cool is that the banter I see between the two of you, and I'm sure Rob as well, is something that you take into the projects as well. So the people that are actually a part helping or being filmed are enjoying this energy, which is so helpful because then it allows people to let their guards down, to do their thing, to have great production at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I've learned in business, when you love what you do and you work with people you love, it creates such a contagious space, and you trust each other. Like, I trust Mike explicitly. Like, I don't even have to be there. I don't even read the scripts. I'm like, oh, you did it? Okay, I'm sending it to the client. And I'll just and like we've been hired by other clients and other networks and doing shows outside of the LGBT, which is a huge honor that people see what the team him and I have built with Bobby and Aflux Studios. But I won't even read his scripts. If he writes them, he'll send it to me and I'll send it to the client. And I'll like put them in a group chat. I'll be like, yep, you guys talk about it. Like, sure. That's just his lane. He went to school for it. He's such a talented writer that I don't even have to read what he writes anymore.
I do. I love a good storyline. And even though it's like documentary style, there's such a structure to it. Like, how you conduct an interview really determines how your story is going to be told. And like, you know, it's easy to get distracted and sidelined and go like a million different directions. So if you have a good solid interview, so most of when you're structuring, like even with Dream Queens or with In Plain Sight with MIQ, a lot of it is writing a good interview and knowing what you want your episodes or your movie to look like at the end. And if you drive that interview in that direction, then your final vision is going to come through, and then you kind of sync it up with vision. So you create this shot list, and I just throw it at the camera guys. I'm like, go over there, take them, go see that queen over there. I want that shot. I want this, And so, the story just starts coming together. And then in editing, when you get that first, like when I watched the MIQ interviews, it was just raw interviews. We picked the best questions, the best answers from the people. And I sat there with my mother-in-law, actually, Rob's mom, and she loved it. And I was like, that's good. Like, I got raw, like somebody who had no idea what it was about, sit there and tell me that it was emotional, and to me that's pretty cool.
Sure. So now we know that there's glitz and glams behind the scenes and seeing the crown on the queen as well as the faces on the big screen, but there's always stuff that happens behind the scenes, the goods, the bads, the in-betweens. And as Morgan, your anchor of excellence, I want to get down to the T. I want to know what happens behind the scenes. And I know there's some good stuff, but I also know that there's some trials going on. So Michael, getting into the pageantry system, do you want to just give a quick highlight of some of the trials that have been going on?
During filming? Wow. So I'll be honest with you, it's stressful.
I'm sure.
Not only are you doing, like, you're directing and managing a pageant with 50 contestants, 200 dancers, 20 performers, 25 promoters. Now you're throwing 20 people into interviews scheduled in between all that in a different hotel, by the way, and running back and forth, and very little sleep, very little food, and it's very stressful. And then there's some people who who complain. Some people wanted to talk about contracts. Like, sure. It's just, good experience, yes. Stressful, very. It was a lot to pack into a 5-day period. Sure. When you have a film crew following you around, asking you questions, trying to answer all the contestants' questions, keep track of everything, and the judges and interviews and everything. It's just it's a lot. And
Travis, do you feel the same way? Do you feel the same way when it's a little bit smaller group of people that you're still filming? Though there's like large personalities, but do you feel like it's still, because you're managing a lot as well?
I didn't stay in the house when we filmed. Like, as you watch it right now and you see them in the house, I voluntarily drove an hour and 15 minutes home just to see my mattress, because like I should have thought, like, oh, I'm gonna put 10 queens that like have egos larger than life and entitled, rightfully so, for the amount of awards they won. Like, when you think of everyone that's in that house, and you think of like actually how hard it is to win a national title, and majority of them had several, you can only imagine the egos that came in that door. And then here's like little 28-year-old, I think I was 28 at the time, little 28-year-old me and little 140-pound, Michael Silas, and then a film crew. And Bobby's like a teddy bear. He's like the sweetest, quietest guy you ever met. And these queens, there was no Michael Duster. I'm very excited for a Michael Duster because now there's someone that they'll like, okay, we respect you. We listen. There was no listening.
Maybe.
There was no listening.
We'll send Rob at them. We'll send Rob.
We dropped them in a house and turned cameras on. And then they would remind us, they were like, you should have been recording all the time because when you weren't recording, this fight broke out. And I wish there were cameras for all these stories they told me that happened when we weren't. They would constantly remind me of when we weren't filming all the cool shit that went down. But then when we were filming, we get these bedtime talks. That's what I call them.
I love it. It's like 10 queens pick to live in a house, and see what happens.
Well,
it's like
what possible could go wrong?
1990. I love it.
They were at each other's throats, but in such a way of like, I think because the stakes were so high, like you have to think there were so many queens that would surprise you that did not do this because let's face it, even of these 10 queens, there was still someone who got last place. And when you're looking at queens who've won a lot of titles, they're like, do I want to put myself in a position where they're going to announce a top 4 and I'm not in the top 4? Like, so kudos to everyone who was brave enough to even do this competition because there was a lot on the line for everybody. So when they all went in the house, their strategy was, I'm going to make friends and be happy and be family with all of them, which I feel was definitely genuine, but it's also part of like, I can't sit here and be cutthroat and trash talking or shit talking because I'm telling you, any of the 10 could have made the 4. If you would have called out another 4, nobody would have questioned it. They all were that. I had no idea I would not want to be on that judges panel. I went out with, I think Mike was there too. We went out with the judges afterwards and we were just talking we sat at a table, it was just us and judges and we're drinking. And they were like, this was the greatest pageant I have ever seen, and I will never see another pageant this great. They were like, it was so hard to judge because everyone was so perfect that I was nitpicking and examining and observing things that I have never had to watch for in my time as a judge because everyone was that good. And you're gonna see that when this comes out, like, and it shows because it's wow. It's wow.
Sure. So Michael, when you were doing your filming and it was more of a live setup as opposed to being picked to be in a house and then being taken to different spaces, do you think the dynamic was more authentic? Meaning, what I mean by that is, do you think that you were getting more raw footage as opposed to, because with Travis, it's more of a different setting as opposed to an actual pageant is what I'm trying to get at. And
so with what Travis did, it's more of a show, because you're almost like making a Real Housewives type episode with a pageant thrown into it. And so you're depending on the personalities of the people to carry the show, which is what that's for. For me, I think it was more structure because it's more less about entertainment and more about the history of the pageant. And so it was easier for me to structure an interview session with people and use historical footage to document that. So there's a lot of talking about preparation, the categories, the gowns, the talents, and interviewing and how people prepared and how it impacted them and how many times did they try and what changed in between that. And we talked to performers, we talked to contestants that were competing, and you get to see all that, and each episode focuses on that. So one focuses on the overall history when we started, and then it goes into the categories and the breakdown of everything. But you get their individual stories of what they went through and how it changed them. And then it ends with the pageant, and that's when you get the live footage from the week into the show. And so it's a little different structure because I have more control over it, because I'm asking them the questions, so I know where my story is being driven. And I think that's one thing I can kind of offer in the future with Travis, is that, even though it's more of an entertainment show, you could give it structure by giving them activities, or maybe a mole, somebody who maybe starts.
No, Mike, I have PTSD from it. That's some of the tea.
Maybe a beautiful host that can really just whip things up,
Maybe.
Oh, Mike, you
So,
said the mall. Did I ever tell you that story?
you know what?
I'm gonna tell you
I
this
think
story.
I think when I told you, well, maybe you just said you didn't read my stuff, so because I was thinking Real Housewives mole, the mole. Maybe we plant somebody to stir some drama, and
Someone else suggested that idea too. That didn't make the season.
so
And I want to tell you, and Travis, I want to tell you that I'm not saying that your girls were not being authentically themselves, because they put their hearts out there and they allowed
did.
themselves to be very vulnerable in a different setting, not in a pageant setting, but in a house where they are laying their head, and then they're going out doing things and being in front of people and being filmed throughout the entirety of it. And that cannot be easy as well. So I actually think, Travis, it was probably a little bit harder for you with me, because you're getting a lot of great egos, but then you're also getting a lot of insecurities as well from the cast members, but then also the people filming as well. So what was that like?
Yeah, and first off, what I want to say, when I say egos, rightfully so, they all deserved. If I was them, my ego would it fit in the building. I mean, for what they've all achieved, it's like, again, I go back to say, like, it's so hard to win a national title, and so many of them had multiple. Like, that's the ego. What I love about this cast, and they're all my family, and I know I'm 30 years old and I'm the youngest by far, but like, I look at them almost like my children. Like, when they go compete, I give them very generous sponsorships. If they need help with something, I help them, because I really look at them as, family. And it's because they saw what I saw. It's not a secret that I'm the most liked or celebrated person amongst this community. I wouldn't even say I necessarily have my foot on the line with some people, but all of them, what I say, my work speaks for itself, is because we have 10 people who are arguably the best in the business who have ever done it, period, who stood behind me and this mission and this project. And it was not because of what if it failed. They stood there because what if it worked? What if it actually made a difference? What if it actually helped us all? And that is what national title holders do. It's about, how do you help these other girls get to where you are? And so you have 10 queens who are standing behind someone who, is not the most liked person, and has this crazy idea that so many people during the process was like, this will never work. This will never see the light of day. This is going to get shelved. It's going to get canned. It's going to get canceled. I mean, we hear people all the time come out, oh, we're filming a show. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, and we never see it. I mean, this is the first time someone said that they're going to film a reality TV series around drag pageantry that hit the market and is out for streaming, followed now by Mike, and then followed by MIQ and BTTC. These queens believed in the what if this works? What if this starts to spark? And, they signed a contract with me. Contracts in business are essentially as useless as the paper they're on. They're like, here's some guy saying he's going to give me a $50,000 cash prize. If I make the 4, I'm going to get $5,000. He said he's going to pay for my talent, and I'm going to, have to put my name and my reputation on the line and promote this show as if it's happening. I mean, we all see people come out saying they're doing a pageant, here's $10,000 or however much, and then the pageant never happens, or the collapse of it. It happens more often than a successful pageant, if we want to be honest. And they put it all on the line for me, for the vision, because of the what if this works.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I sometimes think our community is very hard on each other. You know, we don't always have the most supportive people. You know, like I see a lot of postings online about shows and bars, and I won't work here, I won't work there, I don't want to work for this amount of money, I don't want to do that. But like every business has its own challenges, and we're so quick to put people down or dismiss people for one reason or another rather than giving them a shot. Like if we embraced each other more than pushed away, we'd be a little more successful. But sometimes we just battle within inside our own community.
Sure. I hope that, by doing this interview, that people can see more of your heart on your sleeves and where you're coming from and where everyone's coming from, of the genuineness of trying to just get everyone to have their voice, which is what we're all trying to do on our podcasts or on docuseries or being on a national stage. It's not about the people behind the scene. It's always the people in the forefront being lifted up by the community and the promoters and the executors. And so I just hope that people get to see that piece, that it's not just for stardom. It's not just to have a big name. It's not for money. It's about lifting up voices in our community as well.
It's one of the reasons why I'm sure you've noticed, with Rob and I, while we own the pageant independently, we rarely took drama online. Things would get thrown at us and we rarely put it out there. We rarely forced people to do public apologies or anything. We felt it was more detrimental to people than it was helpful. And, it was better to handle things behind the scenes or handle them one-on-one with people than to drag people through the mud publicly. And a lot of times we just drag people through the mud. And I think a lot of that is the culture our country goes into, with the whole cancel culture and, we don't like this person, or Travis is not gay, so why is he in the community? Why is he sponsoring a drag show? Why do we want to support him? Well, he's an ally giving you a platform. That's why you should support him. I mean, why would you push an ally away? Why would you push anybody that is putting you on a platform or giving you a stage to be on away? Because it doesn't help you. It doesn't help the community. We should work more together with each other and with our allies to grow and to keep our community in the spotlight, because we're struggling now against so many bad things in our world that now is a perfect time to embrace each other and look at what's happening. We get to put a great show on for people and change somebody's life, with a price package that may not have been there for somebody. It's people really have to think more about that stuff.
And what I love, Travis, about what you've created with the pageant queens is that the contestants that are on have an opportunity to tell their story the way they want to tell their story, or if there's a message that they want to get out, this is their moment to be able to do it, because it's going to be seen globally, which is really cool. And you created that. You gave that space to somebody to be able to do that. It wasn't out of your own benefit. It was for their benefit. So thank you.
You're welcome. And Mike could say the same. It's just a calling. You just feel called upon. And, I'm a very religious person. I walk by faith every day. And just how everything pieced together to make it work out, like getting the sponsor who gave the $70,000 for the cash prize, then getting the donor who gave the seed money to then make it possible to just get started. And what happens in sponsorship is when people see that someone gave a significant amount of money, then the snowball effect happens, and everyone, it just keeps coming in, and just every step towards it was like a miracle.
Yeah.
And I had people really help me along the way. Another Raul Griffin, a great ally to this community, helped me. I remember when I called, as Mike can say, you know, when you're doing AV and lighting, those invoices can exceed $50,000, $60,000. And when you're doing the Queen of Drag and a $50,000, you know, we can't just put up a sign, you know, it has to be. And he made that possible. He was like, I want to help you, and I'm going to sponsor you. And I mean, he literally, that beautiful set that was built, you know, he did it for at cost of the labor. And, you know, this is tea, and this was me not knowing, because I never had this problem before, but I did not know that banks had sending and spending limits, because they're very high sending and spending limits. But the week of the pageant, you know, I'm having to send out hundreds of $150,000, and I did not give my bank heads up. I'm with Chase. I'm with JP. I didn't know JP needed any notice.
Venmo said no, no Travis, no Venmo, no PayPal, no Cash App.
When I exhausted Zelle, Cash App, Apple Pay, Venmo, and withdrew money, I mean, and he was the one person that like I could go to and explain what happened, and he said, "Oh, wait, don't worry about me. I know you have money. You didn't know." You know, he definitely lectured me about like, this is something you need to know. Like, if you're going to do high-end events and you're going to work with corporate companies, this is going to happen. And, you know, now I have this really cool fob that gets me to the back end of the bank. I can enter in this code from this. It's the biggest flex. It's on my keychain.
It is definitely a flex, but I'm not mad at it either.
I can get into the back codes of the bank to just wire any amount of money.
You're like, I pulled up in my Porsche with my glasses on.
That's not the flex. It's the back end fob.
So funny story. Our second year of Miss Gay America, you write an awful lot of checks the last day. And you have some very happy drag queens coming after you for money, and you have some very unhappy drag queens coming at you for money. And Rob decided he was going to help me write the checks, and he signed them. Well, he didn't sign them the way he signed on the bank account for the business. So he bounced 50 checks because his signature didn't match the signature card. He goes, "Oh, I just scribbled." I'm like, "You can't do that. It's a legal document."
Yeah. You know what? That's going to be very nerve-wracking. But
Rob. Rich people problem. But yeah, when I did
doctor signature.
Yeah, when I did the pageant, everybody was talking like, "Oh, haha, post-dated checks, da 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 da." Like, that's me giving a post-dated check was a business standard, because in this line of entertainment, you actually get paid 60 to 90 days later. You do the work, and they're going to wire it to you 60 to 90 days later. I didn't want to put the queens, because I knew they wouldn't understand that. I wanted them to feel comfortable. So I'm like, I'm going to give you a check, and there's going to be a date on it that's later. And the date was like 5 days. It was just long enough for me to get to Monday, go to the bank, say who's who, match what, just get it ready. Because now they have this legal document that shows I owe them this money. If they would have done the services and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to pay you 90 days later," and that's the standard in the entertainment industry. If you go work for Gaga or Shakira or an agent, or go do a movie, like they're going to wire you your money 60 to 90 days later. That's the standard. So I was doing something even better than the standard in good faith. And so to be getting bashed online in a good faith effort, it was definitely a learning experience for sure. But
Well, I like Travis. I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to say, like you just said it perfectly. It was a learning experience, and you're being fully transparent with the situation, and that's all you can do is just grow, learn, and just keep evolving, and just having that good faith that what you're doing is still making that difference. Right at the end of the day, money's
yeah,
money. Money can be funny, but you know what? At the end of the day, you still have your mission of what you're doing.
right, yeah, and the queens, all of them, even some of them got mad after the results of the pageant, which had nothing to do with me. It was the judges they voted on. But everyone's great now. We're all a big happy family. We love it. And what I'm most proud about is when the Amazon debacle happened, which was a
Okay.
nightmare.
Okay. Do we want to dish a little
Yeah,
bit?
we can dish, but all of them, before I dish, all of them stood behind the show
Yeah.
because they knew, and they were like, what's the problem if I get on my home search bar and turn on my smart TV and get on the search bar and type in pageant queens? It takes me to all the places I can watch it. So it's not on Prime. So what? Go watch it. It's free. But
Yeah.
to dish it, and this is like never known before information, I'm just talking about this freely now. And again, this is the best information that me and my lawyers were able to pry out and find. And so I cannot prove or validate this, but this is my professional opinion of what happened is, they will give you a date saying your show is going to come out on X date. You also agree when you sign your show over, you agree to their terms and conditions. That's standard in business across the board, but within terms and conditions, if they want to cancel you, if they want to delay you, if they want to pull you, if they want to release it in a different format, they reserve that right. And so I found out 24 hours beforehand that they were going to release it in a different format than what I was told and into what I was promoting. I was promoting an episodic series that you can stream with commercials, like what is now with my partner Roku channel is how you can go watch it is the correct way. When we were told a date, we believe they were monitoring the needle. Are we moving the needle? We were getting 5, 10 million impressions through our social media, through the engagement. But for a platform that, considers 15, 20 million small, I was nothing to them. And so they made a decision, which it was in the best interest of me and them, that the best way to make profit off this show is to piece it together, make a part 1, a part 2, and make it for rent or for sale. They did not believe that the show was going to hit numbers to make it profitable for them or I to have it in an episodic format like what it is now on Roku.
Yeah.
And so I felt and had to make an executive decision that I thought it would be worse. It would be bigger backlash if people got onto Prime Video and saw that it was for rent or for sale. And so I made the decision that we were going to go with a smaller company that was not listed in our clause with Amazon, because they have first right of refusal over Amazon, over Apple, HB, Peacock, all of them. They had first right to go first. So Fossum was one not listed, so I could go and get on Fossum and make it free. And that's why it's their part 1, part 2, because that's how Amazon built it. So we took it from the portal there, put it into Fossum. Fossum dropped it there. And it worked out magically to my favor because Fossum is an up-and-coming platform. It's the fastest growing streaming service out there right now. They're really making a name for themselves. So their payouts are far more aggressive. They pay out 4 times the amount any other platform does because that's how they stay competitive. So for me to be promoting, it's going to be going here, but then in reality, it drove everyone here to a platform that's paying me 4 times the amount of monies per impression. Our payout was phenomenal for debut week.
So I have to ask then, just because I am who I am. And so when you talk about, you picked a platform that streams for free for the viewers at home, correct?
Mhm.
Why did you choose that one as opposed to them renting it?
You know, you go back to your mission and you go back to your why. And it was more important to me. I'm looking at the 5 year and the 10-year business plan of this. I'm not looking at the turnaround, make profit now plan. So I wanted to build a following. I wanted to build a fan base. And I feel that if there is a 2-minute commercial and a flyer and a description of the show, and it's blocked by a paywall that you have to pay $4.99 or $7.99 to watch, it would turn so many people away because they're not familiar with it. So I wanted it to go ahead and come out, be for free, build that fan base, which now we've done. We have a fan base across the world now. And oddly enough, there was a company that bought the rights to my show to put it on their YouTube page. And to do that is very expensive because then you get into music rights for YouTube. And I'm like, well, if you want to buy it from me, but then you have to go get it licensed to be on YouTube. This company over in Europe paid the hefty, very hefty fee to license it for music. And now we're getting paid from all the views on YouTube.
Sure.
And if you go see it on YouTube and you read the comments of all these people from all over these different countries and the impact and how they love the story, that was the most rewarding for me because I'm reading from people in Haiti or people in Colombia or people in a country I've never even heard of that's like, I love this. This is my story. That's what I went through. This is me. I like, we're cheering from you from Morocco. And I'm like, that's the why.
That's what
And
you, right.
So I had to make that call. I am why it was not on Amazon April 20th, because I felt it would have been a harder impact to the brand if we promoted and advertised and now here, give me your money.
I think that's very respectable. And you have to look at it like you're looking at it at the greater good of what you're trying to do. And not only that, I liked what you're saying about you said it for free because it's not going to turn people want to see it. People are gossiping about it. People want to know what this is all about. But then you tell them, oh, you got to pay $5.99 to watch it. They're like, maybe I'll just catch a clip of it or something. No, it makes sense. You do it for free to get the fan base, to then build it up. And then look what you did. You just said it. You're touching lives across the world.
Yeah. And for people wondering, because there's been a lot of like comments about this party that's for sale, this is the legal way that we can get around the music rights. Everyone wants to watch the pageant, which, has 20 different variations of songs in it. So if you're purchasing to watch a live stream event, you're not watching a pageant, you're watching a live stream event of the pageant. That's the legal way to be able to show you something that has copyrighted music in it.
Sure.
You have someone like Layla LaRue dancing to Missy Elliott. I would get flagged and muted if I did not make it a for sale event, a ticketed event that you are paying to watch a live stream watch party. That's the why we had to go and do it this way. And yeah, we should make money. We spend a lot of money, and it doesn't go into my lifestyle by any means. It goes right back into, what we're doing for season 2 and on. And, we have a big surprise. I'm going to announce it there, or we can announce it on here when we do the question videos. But I've got a very nice gift for these 10 queens, because I go back to the life-changing, and I wanted it to be life-changing. So, I'm happy with the distributing company Mike and I are with now, what they were able to work out for me to be able to give these queens something they'll have forever. And it's important because it's their story and it's their lives. And, I hope looking back, 10 years from now, this show is the next RuPaul, and people go back and they watch it from the beginning, and they watch the phenomenon of what this is.
And I have to also say, because I am a pageant queen of Miss Gay America, and, I'm very all about excellence, and I'm all about, doing great things with our community. But I always talk about the promoters, and I talk about people that are behind the scenes, and it's a very selfless job. And from what you're telling me, yes, it is grueling. It is hard. Putting a docuseries on a global span can be very stressful, I'm sure. And you have to check your boxes and check your list and all that and the other. And it's probably, you put your head at night, you're probably still thinking about all the other things you have to do the next day to make sure it runs like a well-oiled machine. So I hope that people understand that, you know, this is selfless. This is something that you're putting out there. And for you, Travis, to even just say, like, you're already thinking about the 10 queens that have put their lives out there to make this happen, to connect with people all around the world. Like, that is such a selfless comment that you made, and just, you know, thank you. And I hope you get your accolades from this journey and moving forward. And I hope it becomes global. And I hope that everyone gets to see everyone's stories throughout the different series that both of you are going to do. So.
Yeah, I piggyback on what Mike said. You know, what I would love to see for this community is, I feel there are so many talented individuals that make drag pageantry. I think all of them, all of you, are so talented in your own right. And I feel if we can focus and support one another and the missions of what moves us forward, you know, because maybe I could have gotten a better result with Amazon if we all united together of, this was supposed to be here. We want to be here. We deserve to be here. But, you know, it's not a good look when a platform can look online and their own community that this show is about is bashing and mocking it.
Sure.
It was heartbreaking to see, but, you know, it's part of business. It's part of growing. It's part of learning. You know, and you gotta just keep your eye on the target.
Yeah, sure.
We learned a lot.
What's that? You learned a lot. I can imagine being an editor. All right, guys. So I know we talked a little bit about behind the scenes, some trials, some tribulations, the hardships, the great things that are going on. But is there anything else that you want us to cover for the viewers at home so they get a little bit more insight about what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah. What I would like the viewers to know, and, you know, every drag queen, every performing artist, you know, when we premiere this finale, you know, I have sold this show. This is now Mike's baby as a director. He's going to go on with the new platform and direct it, and it's going to live for many years. And the cast is, for season 2, phenomenal. I'm excited for you all to learn who those individuals are. But if I can share anything with you of what I know, what's coming, we are going to see a rapid change in this industry of entertainment in the next 5 years. And it's kind of that saying, you teach old dogs new tricks. It's hard, but I want everyone to focus on the social media content. Content is gold. It's king right now. It's free. You can post on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook and build your brand. I have watched people and witnessed with my own eyes, people just turn their phone on and make content, have now built multi-million-dollar businesses. It could happen to you. It could happen to anyone. Your life can change overnight. You know, it's free to put in the work and make the videos. And I would love to see this industry get out of this mindset of, let me pass go, collect my $200 booking fee, hope there's a good crowd to get tips, and I'll see you next weekend. And do podcasting, you know, start a business. You know, AI is a massive monster right now, what you can do with AI. You know, learn other skill sets, because the next 5 years, you will not recognize this world of what we live in today. And it's really going to divide a lot of people. And I really would love to see this community and these artists be on this side of that divide. I have a lot of great things I'm working on. And I'm going to be putting my focus there and assisting Mike with whatever he needs with Pageant Queens and beyond. But for speaking to you all, you know, thank you for the life lessons. Thank you to the fans and the supporters who have supported me. This is not my goodbye. This is a see you soon. But if I can give you that one piece of advice, it's get your brand out there, brand yourself, and get it out there, because it's that one video that will change your life and your trajectory.
Absolutely. Michael, how about you?
Oh, for me, I think it's kind of my same message that I had with Miss Gay America. You know, we didn't buy Miss Gay America to make $1 million. We lost a ton of money doing that, and independent filmmaking is kind of the same thing. It's very expensive to make a film. It's extremely expensive to see it through to the end. It costs money to get it online. So, even people think, oh, you're making millions of dollars. No. I don't think any of us are gonna like make what we spent on either of these projects that we have worked on. But we do it for the love of telling the story about our communities and what we've done. And I think moving forward, independent films are big. I mean, if you look at some of the things today, I worked with the film Shelby Oaks. That was an independent filmmaker from. He liked reviewing horror films on a podcast, and that's how he made his film. And I worked with him on that. And then, like if you look at recent films like Obsession, it's a social media influencer who made a film for $700,000, which is crazy. He made money. He made a lot of money.
$130 million at the box office.
But it was amazing. Like, it was really well done. But like, we do this because we love it. We love telling stories. We love our community, and we love supporting them. And this is one way to get our stories out there and cement it in history for everybody. And everybody in the future we're going over 50 years here. We're over 50 years here, and hopefully one day Miss Gay America, I'll be long dead, will be 100, and maybe when it hits 100, our stories will live on screen forever. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, is to. From day one, I was trying to get Miss Gay America on TV or in the movies. I worked and worked and worked, and everybody wanted to control it, and I didn't want that. I didn't want somebody else to write our story. I wanted our people to write our story, and that's what I did.
Fabulous. Well, thank you to both of you again. All right, you two. Now listen, in true Morgan fashion, I do not end an interview without hearing what your meaning of excellence is, because I feel like in the world of excellence, it means something different for everyone. So Michael, I'm going to turn to you first, and I would love for you to tell the viewers at home what your meaning of excellence is.
So I know I answered this with you before, and it holds true. I think people have to be human. We all make mistakes, and I think people learn from their mistakes. And I think excellence is being able to forgive people and move forward and give people a chance to build a better self. And I think that's what makes us all excellent.
I love that. Travis, what is your meaning of excellence?
Yeah, my meaning of excellence is just showing up. I feel there's so many people that just walk through life, but there's a difference just between walking through life and actually showing up. And, I embarked on excellence when I started showing up. There was a time in my life, and, the great thing, or I don't know if it's a great thing with this community, is they've known me at the right age of 18 years old. And, when you're 18, you think you know it all. So they've seen every chapter of me, from child, young adult to full-fledged adult. And when I started showing up, that's when I became my truest and best self. I stopped pretending and started being. And I took all the energy that I was investing in, like status and just, oh, I'm this and oh, I'm that, when in reality I wasn't. And I was like, I need to start showing up for myself. And rather than faking this, I need to start becoming this. And I have now became that because I started showing up for me. And when you show up for yourself, you're then able to show up for others. So that would be my message of excellence.
I love that. Thank you. All right, you two, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us tonight. I hope that the viewers at home got to see a little bit more insight of who the two of you are and what make you tick, but also what makes the documentary series tick, and the behind the scenes and everything that goes, the ins and outs, the glamorous, but also the trials and tribulations. And once again, we just enjoyed time together, and thank you so much.
She's the queen of the night. Strutted She's the queen of the